in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, so welcome to the final review of the evening. A game called Fable Fortune. You might have seen our stream that we did of the game on Friday. If you didn't, so a quick recap: Fable Fortune is a digital card game based off of the Fable franchise.
And this is absolutely one of those card games that kind of works, or one of those digital card games that would not really work as a physical card game.
Well, it could. You just have to keep track of a lot of crap.
Not really. It has like the summon random cards and stuff that
Oh, I
doesn't
didn't
always
see
come from your
any.
deck.
Oh, I didn't see any of those.
Yeah.
Like, anyway, as far as I know, this isn't a real card game yet. Who knows what the future holds? Like, because I'm I'm sure it can be licensed to a card game maker, and they could make the appropriate changes.
Yeah, they could do some approximation of it. I'm just saying, it's not one of those. It's not like Hearthstone also does this, where there are some things in Hearthstone that would not work well in a actual physical card game.
Right. Anyway, so once again, yeah, this is based off of the Microsoft franchise Fable. It's actually the first game to come out post Lionhead Studios. It's developed by a concern called Flaming Fowl Studios, and
As in chicken.
yes, like that is the kind of humor you would get out of a Fable game, by the way.
It is.
Like, and so there's actually a lot of aspects going on here, like as you'd expect from a game of this nature. Uh, and it's kind of hard to decide where to start.
In the beginning, there was a game. Wait a minute.
Yeah, in the beginning, there was a game of Fable. It was going to be the greatest RPG ever, and it turned out to be decent.
Maybe not that far back, because honestly,
wasn't Fable one of the Peter Molyneux ones?
yes,
Yeah,
it was.
Fable was the one that, driven by Peter Molyneux. The thing is, I'm not sure how well it uses the Fable IP in the card setting.
The cards are like some of the rare cards are actual characters. Most of them are just like types of things. Like there's a potato farmer, and goblins are called hobs here.
Well, yeah, those are all Fable lore things.
Right, that's what I mean.
And in addition to this being a card game, it's also kind of a board game. Because, well, as you might see from the footage, you don't have you have figurines as your representations.
Yeah, it's again, it would work fine if they were actual cards, but it looks fancier that way.
Yeah, believe me, you don't want to treat figurines the way this game treats figurines.
Well, because I just exploded 2 of them like mere seconds ago.
Yeah, I'm like, this would get pretty expensive quickly.
This is very
Yes,
much
it
Harry
would.
Potter wizard chest levels of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and the basics are you and your opponent bash each other until you're out of life points, or whatever they call their heart. You gotta
Health, I think.
Yeah, health, whatever you want to call them. It's the same. It's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like you and your opponent have a set amount of health, and you devise your way into beating your opponent. Now, if you want a more thorough rundown of what that entails, as of this recording, we do have the Friday stream. Thing is, that's only going to be around for 2 weeks. So if somebody
I try and highlight that though, but it stays usually on the Twitch channel.
Okay. Well, yeah, if that's highlighted, then yeah, you can just go watch that. That is one of the reasons why we do those streams, not just show off multiplayer, but it's a good way of showing off the game as well, or the footage that is playing right now in real time. So we're not going to. Basically, what I'm saying is we're not really going to rehash all the inner mechanics of the game here. Although there is one thing I do want to cover that we didn't cover on Friday, and that is crafting. This game does have.
Yeah, none of us had enough materials to craft that I noticed, or at least I didn't, and Petty I don't think did.
Oh, I didn't either.
Well,
Yeah.
that's because crafting requires a different kind of currency. Crafting requires ink, and you don't get ink from like either playing the missions or buying the DLC or rather buying the card packs. You get them from other cards. Ink is mostly gained through salvaging other cards. Although you can get it from although it may be obtainable through events or other rewards, salvaging a card requires you to own the card already, and it can be accomplished by inspecting the card by right-clicking in your collection, choosing salvage, and selecting the number of that card you wish to salvage.
Which is basically trashing them, right?
Yes. Once you have
I guess that's not a bad thing, since the deck limit for most cards is 2 here. So if you get more than 2 of a card,
yeah,
you don't really need them.
Yeah, let me finish. Yeah, once you have salvaged a card, that card is gone forever. So be careful when deciding to salvage cards. However, in return, you will receive an amount of ink relative to the card's rarity. The ink salvage value for rarities are, and it's got the table here, and it's got the 5 tiers. So it's common, rare, epic, mythic, and fabled.
Ha, I see what they did there.
Yes. Yeah. So when should you salvage cards? Decks and Fortune can have 2 copies of non-fabled cards, and no more than one of the same fabled card. That means any card you open from a pack that makes you exceed these numbers for a single card, it's salvage worthy. So basically, to get rid of your excess cards, you salvage them and you get ink points so you can craft new cards.
Yeah, because currently it doesn't look like there's any way to trade cards between other players, so salvage is your only option.
And also worth noting, looking at the website, it's got all the play styles. Because when we played the game on Friday, not every play style was available as a single player campaign. But
yeah, I wasn't sure if the other 3 unlock after you've done the first 3 or something.
I think those come later.
They do.
Yeah. So you got the Knights, who strives to flood the board with units, preferably peasants, and will do his best to keep them alive using benevolent buffing spells and abilities to power them up into a dangerous fighting force. The Alchemist. The Alchemist's strength is in manipulating unit stats, using potions and concoctions, such as her unique vials, buffs, debuffs, swaps the unit stats.
Yeah, the Alchemist's thing is that her commander power, hero power, is that she can get a vial, which is usually something that buffs or debuffs a thing and costs 0.
Yeah. The Shapeshifter is out for blood, literally. Her aim is to dish out as much direct damage as possible with her rending abilities, not only hurting her enemies, but strengthening her bloodthirsty cohort of her forest friends. See, their play style is embedded in their special powers. Um,
Mm-hmm.
their special powers is a thing you can activate um, to do a thing once per turn.
Yeah, it costs
At-
2.
Yeah, it costs 2 coins, and this is where the whole Fable moral alignment system comes into play.
Yeah, your hero power changes with your morality.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You can also change some of the cards you have.
Yeah, there are also cards that change with your morality, but everyone's hero power changes with their morality.
Next up, you got the merchant. The merchant's deal is gold. More gold equals more choices. Hoard extra gold to play big units and spells early, or invest into your cards to make them even more powerful. When you've got the coin, you've got the control. The Gravedigger. The Gravedigger's plot is to fill the board with a horde of expendable units when she charges into their destruction, reaping the rewards of dying units by activating her card's unique eulogy abilities in the process. And finally, the Prophet. The Prophet aims to keep his units as resilient as possible by buffing their max health while using his repertoire of healing abilities to keep them fighting. So, yeah, healing. So, and what these classes define is some of the cards you can play.
Yeah, there are free cards that any character can use,
Mhm.
or neutral cards that any character can use, and then there are cards that only work in certain deck archetypes.
Right. And those will only work with that class of character. And in terms of deck building, you can do it 2 ways. You can do it pre-built, either by class or by certain like you want to have a power deck. They'll assemble a power deck out of what you got.
Yeah, and when you start playing the game, you have the quote-unquote starter deck for every character. And then it gives you the other pre-built ones. There are 2 example pre-built decks for every character. You need to get the cards that are required for that before you can actually build the deck.
Right. And getting cards is the central focus of the economy
Mm-hmm.
and where they're making their money, because you get 10 decks for free on the outset.
Packs.
And yeah, packs, whatever.
Packs and decks are very different.
Fine. Yeah, you get 10 packs, which are a package of 5 cards each.
Uh-huh.
So, and you can earn additional packs by completing missions and stuff.
Yeah, you in single player mode you earn silver, which you can use to buy. I think it's like 5 or 10 packs for 1,000 silver.
No, it's 1 pack for 1,000 silver.
Oh, 1 pack. Okay,
Mhm.
that's worse than I thought.
Yeah, if you want anything above 1 pack, you have to pay real money for this. And we have the DLC breakdown in the Friday stream. So, once again, you can watch that for more details on how the individual prices break down. But I believe the maximum amount is $70. Which is
Yeah, not actually it's $70 for 60 packs,
Mhm.
which is actually not terrible for a trading card game economy, really. But you might balk at paying that much for a digitized card game where A, you don't get any actual physical cards that you can show around to trade with your friends, and B, it's an online game kind of, so if the game goes away, then those are suddenly... It's a bit more
non-existent.
abrupt. It's a bit more of an abrupt thing than, say, in an actual physical trading card game when your cards cycle out gradually over the course of a couple years, usually.
Yeah. And I hate when that happens. I had a point to make, but then I forgot it.
Sorry.
It's fine. So
It is a lot of money.
yes, it's a lot of money, but I've seen worse in free-to-play games.
It's certainly better than here, pay $2 a piece for each of like 500 bonus costumes.
Mm. Yeah. That being said, it is a slot machine in the sense that you are buying cards at random, just like it is in real life. Actually, you don't unless you are engaging in the crafting mechanic. Whatever cards you get is random.
And the cards, you can't usually craft just anything. I think the cards that you can craft are limited either by time or maybe I'm wrong about that. It seemed like they at least had a suggestion of which ones are good to craft at a time.
So, a bit of an update. It looks like the other 3 quests are in the game. It's just you've got to complete the first 3 to unlock them.
I figured it might be something like that. They might be harder because the first ones, I mean, I actually started getting my butt kicked around the 3rd match in the shapeshifter one, but
See, the developer has a very handy roadmap of content on the Fable Fortune website. So it's got things that are complete, like some things that are still in development. Like there are additional 2 heroes coming in the future, and so on and so forth. Other features like community design bosses. So yeah, support is definitely planned in the future, as you would expect from a free game. And in terms of what you can play, once again, we covered that very extensively in the Friday stream. But just to go over it very quickly, got some single player stuff. Each of the classes has a story campaign consisting of 6 battles against various creatures, and they all have a condition attached, a boss power, what they call them, which can change the battle dramatically. You got your PvP, which is, well, player versus player. Thankfully, this has a invite feature. I'm still annoyed that Insidia did not have that, because that meant we couldn't show off the multiplayer there. And we have co-op, where 2 of you team up against one of the bosses. It looks like an upcoming features PvE, or no, that is the campaign stuff. Right? I was thinking more it is like the PvP stuff is done in League fashion.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, that's all the various bibs and bobs of the game. The question here is, how does it play? And the answer is, it's pretty decently.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I mean, I haven't played a ton of trading card games, but it's pretty fun. Some of the unique thing, well, it works on a scaling resource system like Hearthstone does, where just every turn you get another point of resources more than you had the previous turn. In this case, the resources are money. The unique thing about this game, kind of, are the way that it handles blocking and attacking. If your opponent doesn't, you can only pay money to make one card block. When you have a card in guarding, you can't be attacked directly. Normally it's something. There's no limitation on blocking and attacking in the same turn with a thing because of that. There are other cards that put things into blocking status. A lot of things, there are very few things that distinguish between targeting your opponent and targeting one of your opponent's things. Usually you have a choice of either. I know there are a good number of interesting things like that are set it apart from being just like a Hearthstone clone or a Magic the Gathering clone or a Force of Will clone. But it's definitely in that sort of wheelhouse where you're playing creatures and using spells to protect your life total and whittle down your opponent's life total.
Mm. Also, something really important that needs to be mentioned about the packs is what you get is determined at purchase, not when you open it.
So you can't save scum.
Yeah.
I find it interesting because that means they must be storing a certain amount of data about like what you've bought.
Mm-hmm. And it's also like if, say, this thing ever has like a banned list, if you have a stockpile of packs, there's a chance you could have banned cards in there that are useless to you.
Yeah, it basically means that once you've bought a pack, there's no point in not opening it immediately. Which kind of makes it annoying how slow it is to actually open packs.
Yeah,
Because
let
to
me
open
actually show that.
you'll show them and just you can narrate it at time delay.
Yeah, it's like a single pack doesn't take that long, but the problem is the animation is unskippable and you have to click each card that comes out.
Yeah, you have to drag the pack to the circle. You have to click the thing to open it, and then you have to click all 5 cards. That's 7 clicks to open a pack.
And like, yeah, 1 or 2 isn't bad, but if you get like the 60 pack, oh god. Like, I feel sorry for you doing that all in one shot.
Yeah. In terms of graphics, well, everything is rendered in a slightly cartoony style.
It's a Fable-ish art style.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's about what I was thinking. And worth noting, this is a Unity game, and I don't know. Did it kind of locked up at points for me?
It did for me, but that was only really online, and I think that might have been more connection issues than actual game issue. Like,
Could
I did
be.
have one random disconnect.
Yeah, I had about like 2 random disconnects at one point.
Interesting.
But
Yeah, but like overall net code was very solid. Like no problems. Us showing the game off on Friday, which is always nice.
mm-hmm.
Also, again, it allows for you to play with friends.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And this being a card game, it's not something you really have to worry about in terms of lag or ping.
Like, there is a
Mind you-
timer that when it ticks down will end your turn, but
Mhm.
if your lag's that bad, it's probably gonna throw you out regardless.
Yeah, and this game is not this. It doesn't have instants or abilities that you can use on your opponent's turn, really. So you don't have to worry about like missing on your trigger while they're doing something. It's very much you act on your turn, your opponent acts on theirs.
Mhm. Let's see. Music is surprisingly low key.
It is.
Like
I don't remember any of it.
all I can remember is the trumpets in the in the opening menu.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's about it. Honestly, after a bit, I shut that off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's see. Is there anything else we need to talk about in terms of like design or no? Because
Not
pricing,
really.
yeah, because pricing. Well, we've already kind of talked about. This is
it's free to play. You can pay how much ever you want.
Yeah.
To get tons of cards to make your gameplay better.
Yeah. I suppose the question then becomes: is it worth investing into this game? I'm like,
I'd probably rather play something where I can actually collect cardboard, but that's just me.
yeah, that's a harder question to answer because this isn't Hearthstone.
there's not really. I mean, there is the league stuff, but I don't know what there is for actual prizes for that.
if anything.
If you're super into Fable and not at all into the Blizzard IPs that Hearthstone works with, or Magic the Gathering, or whatever, this might be more appealing to you than those.
The problem is, it's hard to say how well this game is doing, like, or rather, how long it's going to be around, because
Mm-hmm.
this isn't a game being done by Microsoft. Mind you, that wouldn't guarantee that it would be around in, say, a year or 2 years, but it is a licensed IP affair. Really no different than if we were looking at, I don't know. I'm trying to think of if this is centered around, say, the Major League Baseball, or Hot Wheels, or Judge Dredd.
It's
Yes, I
based
know
off a
these are.
franchise that literally just died.
Well, it's
Or-
not. Well, the franchise didn't die. The studio died.
Well, yeah.
It's more.
Mhm.
This is a different studio that is licensing out the IP, and therefore, they have to pay royalties, and that IP is licensed out for a limited set of time, and therefore, the contract could end, and this game could vanish, and
Mhm.
with it would be all of your investiture, as opposed to, say, something like Magic the Gathering, or especially Hearthstone, which is Blizzard owns all that stuff, so Hearthstone isn't going to vanish. This game could vanish, and that's
It doesn't have the infrastructure.
Well, it doesn't have the guarantee of longevity.
Yeah, that's what it doesn't have like this is built on a bunch of other stuff, so it won't go away because all the other stuff is still there.
Yeah. So yeah, in terms of mechanics and all that stuff, yeah, this is definitely a game worth playing. As far as investing, I'd say be wary about plunking down, $60 after $60, just in general. But in terms of, this game may not be around in a year, and I
Mhm.
do have to preface this, because it being a free-to-play game, it's also like an always online game, and it's a game that's gonna vanish if it dies.
Yeah.
It's gonna get delisted, and there may be unofficial efforts to preserve the game, but
If you want to get into it, and then sure, go support it. But
like I said, as a game in and of itself, go play it. Go play the single player campaign. There is no requirements, no barriers, no nothing preventing you from doing that. And yeah, you don't have to invest money in this. Now, if you're going for league stuff, you're probably going to have to invest, because
Mhm.
if you want to be competitive, you're going to need to spend some money to get like lots of good cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, it's hard to even do the single player stuff with just the basic stuff they start you with.
Mm-hmm. Which is by design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want you to spend
but
money.
you can get
encourage you.
Yeah, you can get some cards without paying money, which is more than some of these games do. So
Indeed. But yeah. So it's a bit of a variable scale here, since there isn't a fixed price point. Now, some of it's going to depend on you, but overall is, at the base level, sure, go nuts. The only commitment is your time, and I
Mhm.
don't think anyone here felt like their time was wasted.
no, I had fun
I
with it.
didn't. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
And unlike say the last free-to-play game we reviewed, Insidia, this actually does have some single-player content to keep you occupied if you're not engaged in the multiplayer.
Hmm.
That was
And
another.
I assume if you're into Fable, it's probably stuff you've like possibly seen before, but it's still interesting.
Petty fan. That's your cue, since you're
Um,
the.
apparently these are all new characters from what I've seen, but it's still like there's like Fable-ish lore, and I think like what's her face?
Crimson.
Yeah, Crimson like has something to do with the guild itself. I'm not sure.
Well, seeing as to how her shtick seems to be the Red Riding Hood that's actually a werewolf deal, which, is completely original and totally hasn't been done a million times by everything else. I'm not saying that they don't do a bad. It's not that they're doing a bad job with it. It's still interesting story, but it's not like they reached super deep for the concept for it.
Yeah.
That is gotten. Right. But
Yeah, and like there's a whole bunch of Fable humor like in the select hero thing for the like single player.
yeah. Also, related to the whole IP licensing is, as far as canonicity goes, that's something I couldn't answer offhand. That's something we would have to ask the developers themselves.
Yeah. Like so far
Because
the only thing I've seen is there are some cards that reference like there's Jack of Blades who is the antagonist of the first game, and for the training thing you fight the guild master from one.
Yeah, I think
Outside
a
of
lot of
that,
I think a lot
there's
I think
nothing
a
really.
lot of the I think a lot of the like Fable rarity cards might be like actual characters.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't get many of those because they're really rare.
I don't know.
And unlike in Magic the Gathering or Force of Will or any actual trading card game, there is just secondary market where it's like, oh man, my deck really needs two Jack of Blades, or one Jack of Blades in this case. Okay, that's a bad example because there's one of the starter purchase pack comes with him, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Like
You
the
can't go
guild
out and
master
there's
is
a
a
really rare
card.
card that yeah, you can't go out and there's a really rare card I need for my deck. I'll just go order one from someone on eBay or something or
Yeah.
TCG Player.
And something of note, it looks like there are 569 cards in the game, so good luck.
That's like not that many really.
Well, it's not that many, but this is also a new-ish game.
True, it depends on what rate they plan / do add more stuff. Like if it's a set of that every year, then will get big fast.
Yes.
That said, with this kind of game, I feel like that's a lot less necessary. I mean, you have some pretty like Potato Farmer is a really good card.
Mm-hmm.
Making something better than that would probably be problematic.
Well, that's where we get into like potential banning thing comes in.
Right. Yeah. Potato
Yeah.
Farmer is a 1/1. I'm pretty sure it's like a common or uncommon or something. But
It's
when
common.
it enters,
It's
yeah, when
common.
it enters, it deals 2 damage to your opponent. You start with 30 life. Do the math.
Yeah. But it's like, I could see them totally initiating like some sort of ban system where you can't like take us on to competitive, but like against your friends or something.
Yeah. Usually, how it works with TCGs is that just cards. Well, first they ban things that are immediately problematic, and then things that are older than a certain age. Usually, you stop being able to use fully.
Right. Or they like shut down archetypes and whatnot.
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway, that actually wasn't what I was talking about. I was talking about this game being in continuity, like these characters being part of the Fable franchise.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
far from what I've seen, these are all custom characters.
Right. That's my point. Which means if Microsoft were to say make a Fable 4, or another Fable thing, like Crimson, the shapeshifter, may never be part of that.
Yeah.
Because, well, IP rights can be a very complicated affair. I like to call this a Super Mario RPG situation where Microsoft would potentially own, obviously all the overall stuff, but Flaming Fowl or Mediatonic would own the characters themselves.
Well, they're
Maybe
custom with,
not.
yeah.
It's like it's a case by case thing, but there are times where one party owns one thing, another party owns another.
Yeah, like with Kingdom Hearts, Square Enix owns, Riku, Sora, and them, but obviously Disney owns the Disney characters.
Right, and Disney actually owns Kingdom Hearts, the actual IP.
Yeah, but like Square Enix can use like Sora and their main characters for whatever they please, as far as I understand it.
So, with all that in mind, is there any final thoughts you want to say on Fable Fortune?
Is this PC only, or is it available on like Xbox One or mobile?
That's actually a good question. It is actually available both on Xbox One and the Microsoft Store, so Windows 10.
But there's no like mobile version or anything like that.
Let me check. If they've got a mobile version, but because I think this might have cross-play between the Microsoft versions, like Windows 10 and Xbox One.
Right.
But I'm not exactly sure. I'm not I'm not sure where that's set.
I'd totally like to play against the one person I'm playing with the Windows phone.
Yeah, here it is. So, yeah. Fable Fortune is an Xbox Play Anywhere title, so if you buy it on the Xbox One, you will have access to the Windows 10 store version. But, however, Steam is separate to the Play Anywhere feature, which is not surprising since, Windows 10 Xbox One is, well, Microsoft and Microsoft.
Yeah.
Steam is a different ecosystem, and Valve is loose on a lot of things. One thing that they're pretty tight on is playing nice with Microsoft's ecosystem.
Yeah.
That's not a thing that's happening.
So basically, if you have friends on like an Xbox you want to play with, don't get the Steam version, get the Windows Store version.
Right. And as far as playing this with a controller, it shouldn't be too difficult.
Yeah, like it's easy to aim and stuff. Like you won't have the satisfaction of click and drag, but you can still select whatever you want to hit. It's not a problem.
Yeah. As far as a mobile version, I don't see anything listed here, but that doesn't mean it's not in the cards, so to speak. No pun intended. But like they've kind of been busy, working on 2 or 3 versions, however you want to frame it. And the game got out of early access not too long ago. So, yeah, and they're still busy with additional improvements and content. So it's basically maybe down the line, but once again, that's a thing we'd have to ask them. Anything else we need to mention?
The game's alright if you're looking for a different TCG that isn't Hearthstone on PC.
Yeah. Or a collectible card game that's on Steam.
Fair enough, yeah.
All right, so that will conclude our review session for the week. And coming up the week ahead, this week, we do have a Tuesday interview scheduled. It's just because of GDC week. I haven't heard back from our guest to confirm yet. Hopefully that'll happen tomorrow. But on Tuesday, March 27th, we are slated to have Douglas Bogart of Limited Run Games back on the program. I know It's long enough that it was... Yeah, can you hear me?
You dropped for a second after saying Douglas Bogart.
Yeah. Douglas has been on our program before. Like, I'm trying to think of how long it was. I believe it was way back to the Talk Shoe days.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a while. And, this is coinciding with their release of Thimbleweed Park, a physical edition.
Oh man.
Yeah. Both on the PlayStation 4 and their first Switch game. So I said we would have them back on the show whenever they would get over to Nintendo, and this has happened.
Yes, and indeed they have.
Yeah. So looking forward to that. On Wednesday, March 28th, we have Rob Mayer of Castle Pixel slated. Thing is, the entire Castle Pixel team may be joining us. That last communication was a bit fuzzy on that. But, at the very least, Rob will be there. And they are the developer of Blossom Tale. That Zelda clone that blew up on the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
We actually covered that. I think we were one of the few outlets that actually covered the PC release. Mainly because we know the publisher of the game, FDG.
Mm-hmm.
And Castle Pixel also made a game before that called Rex Rocket, which I believe Naka looked at an age and a half ago. Anyway.
Oh man, that's more than an age.
Yes. Anyway, we'll be talking about their success on the Switch. We'll see if they're bringing Rex Rocket to the platform, and maybe we'll get an idea of what they're doing next, because they're able to do something next because the game was a hit on the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
That was the big story floating around. So until Tuesday, I wish you good gaming.